I wound up homeless. It's tough to get a job when you're homeless in the middle of the winter, trying to survive. It took a lot to beat it in addiction. That was, I mean, I'm 7 months clean off of drugs right now. I lost everything. Lost all hope. That was really something, like, gaining hope again is probably one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do, I do believe.
When someone is just trying to survive, they need two things. Not just a warm bed. They need relationship and they need hope. And that's what our community has helped us to be able to provide through the Flathead Warming Center. You know, behind me you might just see beds, but I see a lot more than that. I see places where people have been able to stretch out for the first time in a very long time, where people have found warmth and safety, and where they found community. What I love about when people are able to participate and contribute to community, that changes everything. That changes behaviors, that changes attitudes. It really takes down walls to where you can really start to work with an individual and really get to know someone and really help someone.
One situation hits you after another, and you find yourself just flat broke with no place to go. Last time we were considered homeless, we still had like our fifth wheel or a camper or something where we still at least had a place to stay, you know, and this time we don't. And it's great to have a place like this because there was never a place like this, and you know, the shelters are full, or we can't have our dogs there, or we can't have our child there, or we're not together. You know, in this place we can all three be together and have our animals with us, and you know, it's good. You know, if we can't be together, then what is there? It's hard, but we just, I don't know, just give it to God, I guess. It's the main thing, give it to God and you know, take it one day at a time.
For a lot of our homeless neighbors, they're walking around town and people are avoiding eye contact. They don't have a lot of interaction throughout the day. And we really wanted them to come here and for them to feel just a strong sense of dignity, of hope, of community, a place that they could have conversations about life and feel like they've got greater purpose than just surviving.
I think what I learned this season is how resilient people can be. In their fight to survival, how much they struggle, but how resilient that they are. And that's been an inspiration to me. I feel a little more blessed for the home that I'm in, and I want to be able to help others. But, you know, it's what I learned from our guests that was most inspiring to me, just how resilient folks can be.
I think my first night was like one of the best nights here because I think I slept the longest. I think I was just worn out from the night before, sleeping in the car, in the parking lot and stuff. You just have to just smile your way through it, I guess. Pray and smile, I don't know. You just have to keep your head up, you know. Always, there is no, I can't. My mom always told us that. Don't say I can't. There's always I can. If it's an I can't, it's because you're not trying.
For me, it's kind of hard to keep up the pace, hard to stay consistent. You know, I have balance from being with my depression and stuff like that. It gets worse and then it gets better over time, then it hits again, and it's hard to keep it at bay and stuff like that. The warming shelter provides more security, and that's another one of the things I'm really happy about. It's hard to have security these days, you know, to be able to feel safe.
When I lost everything, I lost the world, you know, like, and now that I'm coming out of it, the world changed. I drug this mattress up here and found this little shack right here and put this mattress in and cleaned it out. I remember a time, this is where I used to sleep. I'd like lay out a blanket and just crash here, man, you know? All these spaces were full of homeless people. I remember waking up, you know, and looking around and being like, you know, this is addiction right here.
For me, probably the biggest push was God's grace and how I've experienced God's grace. Not making it about the homeless individual, but making it about what type of person am I, what type of community are we. We're the type of community that takes care of each other in the Flathead. And we really just wanted to treat people with the unconditional love of God that we've experienced. And I'll tell you, it's been incredible to just see all the different people that have stepped up and helped out in huge ways, just with donations, with financial contributions, with their time. We had like 70 volunteers this year serving at any given point. And I mean, so much time behind the scenes that people put in just because they did care.
And this is our footprint, you know, and if we show hatred and bigotry and all that, pile that stuff somewhere else, man. Like, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna show some love, I'm gonna bring some hope to people, you know. And I think inspiring a lot of homeless people is one thing that I'm about, you know. And people have come up to me and said, hey man, you just kept me going for another day. You know, you kept me sober, you gave me something to believe in. And I feel like if it's flowing through me and it's flowing through a place like this, and you know, that's how you connect with the world, and that's how I deal with it. And it's guiding me in the right direction, and for sure, man. God's the fuel to that right there.
People are hurting. People right in front of me are hurting. As a social worker in the community, I often find people who are underneath a bridge, are sleeping in a shed, sleeping in places that people aren't meant to sleep in. And that's painful. There aren't enough emergency beds here in the valley. And what we've learned is that there's a lot of value when we can become a resource for our police department, for the sheriff's department, for those who work on the front line in the middle of the night. When a person is in crisis, they need a place to stay that night.
People see us a lot as law enforcement officers where we're out writing tickets and making arrests, but we also have this very important role that's called a community caretaker, and there's even a community caretaker doctrine that allows us some flexibility to help and work with people. But the challenges that go along with community caretaker is that we're only kind of as good as the resources that are available to us. So, you know, if there are other shelters that are full around the valley, some other shelters previously wouldn't take people who had any level of intoxication or drugs. So we really were at a limit for what we do with someone. You know, at 3 o'clock in the morning on a January morning, we run across someone who's moderately intoxicated, is homeless, perhaps cannot take care of themselves. We have that obligation. We have that moral and professional obligation to ensure that they don't freeze to death on a corner somewhere. Until this year, for many years, we had just essentially left our lobby open in the evenings, knowing those challenges that people face as far as finding housing on a Saturday night or a Tuesday night, and it's 10 below zero or 10 degrees out. We don't want people freezing to death. And, you know, that became a challenge. You know, 6, 7 people out there at times, close proximity, there's no beds, there's no restroom facilities. And so that's also a challenge because someone might come in here at 2 o'clock in the morning who've been victimized for, you know, whatever particular crime it may be. Then they walk in and they see 6 or 7 people in the lobby, and it may not be a comfortable place to sit and wait for an officer. And then this year, of course, unique with the coronavirus response and the limitations we've had to place and the safety restrictions we've had, it's additional burden. We really cannot keep our lobby open any longer. Finding solutions to help us administratively as a police department is how we partner with the community. And I see the warming shelters as one of these partners for the community that helps give us tools to help people.
Relationships is very key to what we do here when we're building a community. Relationships between volunteers and guests. That was a beautiful thing. Relationships between guests was a beautiful thing. We had an elderly gentleman that stayed here that had a hard time taking care of himself. And to observe the other guests within the community take that on and really try to support that guy and help him. Having a family here with a young teenage boy and seeing the community help him with his homework. That's what builds community. And that's what we really tried to do here at the Warming Center, is build a community. And I think what we ended up with was a family.